Hi there, Esther. Let's go ahead and do 25 and 26 first. That's the simplest one, so that'll be super fast. Just determining what is a polynomial to begin with. So your first introduction to polynomials is probably just something like this. All right, so I'm just going to do this in the margin on the side. It's like whatever, 4x squared. So it's polynomial. There's a couple components here. You have some sort of variables and exponents, whole positive exponents. That's important. That's part of the definition of a polynomial. Whole positive exponents, along with some sort of variable, some sort of coefficient. And your coefficient of 1 is also. So just realize when you see something like x to the third, technically there's a polynomial there because there's a 1. All right. So that is essentially a polynomial. Things that are not a polynomial. So this is things that are not polynomial. I make a list here. Number one, when you glance at it immediately, what you know is not a polynomial is if your variable has a radical. That's why you can't have fractional exponents. Fractional exponents, because an exponent like this, right, means the square root of x to the third. That is not a polynomial, not a polynomial. Okay. Number two is whether or not if you have a variable in the denominator, a variable in the denominator. So a variable in the denominator of a fraction. So let me give you a couple examples here. Okay, what is or is not. So if you see something like this, which is very common, of course, is 3x to the fourth minus 7x to the third plus 2/3 x plus 2. This one is a yes, because all your exponents are whole numbers. There are no square roots involving the variable. And of course, so that's a yes, it is. Polynomial, yes. It has a degree of 4, of course. Okay, because your highest exponent is the fourth degree. Here would be an example of something that's not a polynomial. You had 4x to the second, 5 root x plus 7. This is not a polynomial because the variable is under the radical sign, which technically means it also has a fractional exponent. Okay, because remember, 5x to the 1/2 would be the same as that square root sign. So fractional exponents is not going to work. And also negative exponents. Because if you have a negative exponent, it means like x to the -1, that's going to pop that variable into the denominator, which you cannot have for a polynomial. So this is an example of what is. That's one example of what is not. Let's do one more, just so you can kind of see it here. If I have, let's say, 2x to the fourth, I have an example written down. 5 over 3x to the second minus 7x. That would be a not, because you have a variable in the denominator. Okay, something as simple as this, 7x. Yes, that's a polynomial. Okay, because technically you have an exponent of 1 there, so your degree would be 1. So it's in the first degree. So there's a couple differentiations between what is and is not a polynomial, keeping these rules in mind. Number 25 right here, you have a negative exponent, which implies that's translation square root of x plus 3x minus 4. That would make it not a polynomial. I mean, over here, you take a look here, you check your exponents. All your exponents are positive. There's nothing going to the denominator. There's no radical sign, a variable under the radical sign. So this would be a yes, this is a polynomial. And watch out the degrees here, because right here, this is all kind of factored out. It's factored out. So to see the degrees, you'd have to notice the times. So it's x to the first. And then here, that's going to create, if you FOIL that, somewhere you're going to get an x to the second. And you FOIL this, and somewhere you're going to get an x to the third. Keep that in mind. And here is an x to the first, and you're multiplying. So technically you have to add the exponents. So your highest exponent, if you FOIL that all out, is going to be to the sixth. So this is the 6th degree. Now, if you want, you can certainly go ahead and multiply all that out. But it didn't ask you to see the entire polynomial. It just asked you for the degree. So I know that in the process of FOILing, I'm going to have x to the first, all right? And then you're going to have somewhere in there x to the second, and then plus or minus a bunch of other stuff, all right? And then you're going to have in there somewhere x to the third plus or minus a bunch of stuff. So your highest exponent, because you are multiplying, okay, this would all end up multiplying here, would be x to the 6th.